I think there are lots of people in the valley that don't realize this fantastic wildlife resource we have right in our own backyards. We have bald eagles nesting on the San Joaquin River. So it's an amazing, rich resource for both human enjoyment, but also it's creating habitat for a lot of species that we want to preserve and make sure that they continue surviving. You know, when we are helping species survive, we're helping humans survive as well.
As a kid, I was fascinated by aerial landscape images. Seeing land through a bird's eye view became an I Spy game, with rows of crops becoming little plots of green, with pockets of gray cities and roads splayed throughout. I always thought of the rivers flowing through the images like arteries in a body, keeping the fragile ecosystems of gray and green alive. The Central Valley's San Joaquin River is no exception. It supplies drinking water to 22 million people, including some of the drinking water for Fresno, California's fifth largest city. And about 80% of the river's water is used for agriculture every year, helping produce about 1/4 of the nation's food. We have dammed and diverted the river, but we still depend on the river and other water resources in the watershed for our own survival. Water in the San Joaquin Valley is limited, a precious resource we use to drink, to bathe, to swim in, to water our plants, to keep our cities running. But what happens to our health when the health of our water system is in jeopardy? My name is Daniela Morales, and this is Returning to the River, a podcast from California State Parks focused on watershed stories. This season, we're telling stories from the San Joaquin River watershed. In this episode, I'll explore the visible and invisible aspects of watershed health, and how the health of the watershed impacts the health of the people living in it. The San Joaquin River watershed is a system, like the human body, and its health is directly tied to the flow of water, which, like blood for our own body, keeps the land it moves through alive. From the river's headwaters in the Sierras to its mouth at the Delta, water moves through the watershed, not just through the river. Wetlands filter water like kidneys, removing waste, regulating water quality. Sometimes parts of the watershed are visible to the human eye, like with rivers and streams, branching and reaching to provide water to neighbors. Sometimes these processes happen through steady filtering and recharge of water bodies, like aquifers hidden underground. As we have manipulated the landscape for development and agriculture, we've changed the way rivers flow, where wetlands thrive, and how aquifers replenish themselves. These changes cause systemic issues for the health and well-being of communities that interact with the watershed's many parts. While those are big challenges to address, there are organizations dedicated to helping heal our waterways, one ecosystem at a time. I met with Sharon Weaver, the director of the San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust, a few miles south of Millerton Lake State Recreation Area, at the River Center, the organization's headquarters. We sat at a shaded bench with house finches and blue jays chirping overhead, overlooking a small pond reflecting the sky back at us through cracks in the pond plants. The Parkway and Conservation Trust's main goal is to conserve and heal the entire San Joaquin River system, with most of their work focused on a 22-mile stretch between the Friant Dam and Highway 99. The trust works towards conservation in two ways: purchasing land as a means of environmental management and protection, and through habitat enhancement.
I usually use the term habitat enhancement because we're not necessarily returning the land back to a time, let's say, before our rivers were altered. We are replacing habitat that was removed either through some sort of industrial activity or through farming or grazing or something like that, and trying to rebuild habitat for birds in our area, shade for fish that are in the San Joaquin River, things like that.
Although habitat enhancement interventions don't work explicitly towards addressing public health issues, Sharon shared how these enhancements can have multi-benefit outcomes for river conservation and human health.
One of the ways that benefits human health is by providing shade, for example, in outdoor spaces. We know that that contributes to cooling our environment. And since we live in a very hot climate, it's really important for us to have green spaces, natural places that are refuges basically from the heat. Another way is, as we're planting trees and riparian forests, replanting the riparian forest around the San Joaquin River, obviously that contributes oxygen, it absorbs carbon dioxide. So there are air quality benefits to that work. And then finally, I would just say that having open space that people can come and visit, much like this father and daughter are doing, visiting our pond here at the River Center right now, there are all kinds of benefits to our mental health, even to our physiology, just by being outside in nature, seeing trees growing, being in green spaces. And I think protecting the health of the San Joaquin River is so important because it is one of the major river systems in California. So this is a critically important part of the overall ecology of the whole state of California. So protecting our river's health, it's about protecting human health, it's about protecting wildlife.
Having organizations like the Parkway Trust that protect the river and the natural spaces around it is critical for ensuring these natural resources exist for residents for years to come. We should all have a chance to see eagles along the shore and salmon swimming upstream. But as we know, the story of water in the San Joaquin Valley doesn't end there. More than 1 million people in California suffer from water scarcity, and the San Joaquin Valley is a major hotspot for these issues. Hundreds of wells go dry each year, and over 100 communities in the valley have issues with contaminated groundwater. Currently, access to water in the San Joaquin Valley is not equitable and not always a guarantee. While many of us in the San Joaquin Valley get drinking water and sewer services from the cities we live in, there's still a large portion of valley residents who depend on groundwater wells and septic systems. However, there are some major health concerns with the water hiding beneath the Earth's surface.
Do you mind just giving me a short intro, your name, your role at Leadership Council?
Yeah, so Leslie Martinez, I'm the Community Advocacy Manager here at Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability.
The organization has a large, diverse portfolio of work, but water justice is one of their biggest focus areas. Leslie, a passionate advocate for water justice and a San Joaquin Valley native, shared more about the disparities in water access many rural communities in California face today.
How did we even get here, right? How did we get with over 1 million Californians without safe and reliable drinking water? How is it that we have not finished investments in these communities? But in water, I think of it more of water access and who has had it historically, who has not, but also who has been denied a seat at the table to figure out how we use this resource. I mean, we still don't even have a count of how many people are in domestic wells. But for a long time, I think residents felt like if my well goes dry, they had no idea what to do. So during the drought, I think we were able to see a lot of the who has water, who does not have water, and who has been denied that access.
From not having enough water to finding contaminants like nitrates, arsenic, and TCP, also known as trichloropropane, the issues affecting private well owners are pervasive. Leslie continued to describe her experience working with the unincorporated community of Tombstone, outside of the city of Sanger, California. Sanger sits in the Kings River watershed, a sub-watershed of the San Joaquin. Everyone living in Tombstone was on a domestic well, but when the Leadership Council came in, half of the community had no water. The organization worked alongside residents as well as state and municipal partners to hear people's concerns and to come up with flexible solutions.
Luckily, the city of Sanger was a phenomenal partner. We were able to all come to the conclusion that yes, let's make sure folks have access to water that is safe and affordable. They're in the process of getting connected to Sanger right now. But that's not to say it was easy, right? It took community residents for years going and saying, hello, we exist. When residents are leading the work, I think we're able to really see how impactful their stories are and how they know what's best for their communities.
Leslie says that drinking water issues aren't the only place where community-driven work is critical. Wastewater contamination issues from old septic tanks impact many communities in the San Joaquin Valley. Bacteria and waste leach into soil and groundwater. But Leslie says there's never really been a large-scale investment to get people to transition off of septic systems. And these investments Leslie is talking about are more than just about drinking water and sewer infrastructure. These community-wide infrastructure investments and projects have important health and social components. When there is a lack of investment in drinking water and wastewater services, people are more likely to be exposed to contaminants, making them more likely to get sick. This can also cause downstream impacts on social services such as healthcare, overwhelming hospitals and emergency rooms. Ultimately, the impacts on the quality of life of communities facing water infrastructure disparities can be devastating. Support from organizations like the Leadership Council and other environmental justice and advocacy organizations in the San Joaquin Valley help communities advocate for actionable change from local, regional, and state government leaders. By pushing for improvements to infrastructure, communities can increase their access to safe and healthy water resources they depend on.
I believe so much in the resiliency of the people. I believe in the leadership of the people that we work with. That's, community residents who are stepping up. I'm excited for the future because I really do think that we can create a new idea of how we share water resources. I don't think there's one perfect way, but I do know that everyone has to be at the table in order to figure out how we move forward.
The health of the watershed is dictated by more than just the quality or quantity of water that falls, flows, and floods the region. Health is determined by the people involved in decision-making and the actions or inaction they take towards establishing equitable access and protection of water resources, both for us and the environment. In the case of the San Joaquin River watershed, systemic issues of access extend beyond just water. Parks and green spaces play a vital role for providing shade, wildlife habitat, and places to reconnect with nature. They are spaces to relax and play, but not everyone has access to parks. In Fresno County, 30% of residents live more than half a mile from a public park. And in the city of Fresno, residents in low-income neighborhoods have access to 19% less park space per person than in wealthier neighborhoods. Daniel Mello, a professor in psychology at UC Merced, notes why access to parks and green spaces is important.
Our connection to the natural world, green blue spaces, as we define them, is in a lot of ways important to us in both implicit and explicit ways.
Green spaces are what we traditionally think of as parks or open space, and blue spaces are waterways that we use for recreation and relaxation.
So not just being able to take time to be outside and be in the sunlight, which of course has a lot of positive physiological effects, but the psycho-emotional connection to these spaces and how it can shape just our mood, how it can shape our emotions throughout the day, is something that we try to emphasize only because it should be a core part of our own self-care.
Daniel got me thinking about how when I grew up in Clovis, a suburb of Fresno, my parents had so many options for places my brother and I could safely explore and play outside. From a young age, I learned about native oak trees, went to visit Yosemite and Millerton Lake, and watched families of Canada geese waddle along at our favorite local parks. But at the time, I didn't even know that in neighboring Fresno, this may not have been everyone's experience. We know that getting time in nature is critical to our physical and emotional health, but how do we ensure that everyone has a chance to do that? Parks California, a nonprofit partner of California State Parks, is helping people who historically haven't had access to parks get outside. Amanda Zhu, a program coordinator at Parks California, shared how the Routes to Parks program is helping communities break down barriers that prevent access to nature.
It's providing more park access for people to create authentic connections with nature, be it their first time or continuing their journey with nature. Over the past 5 years, we've awarded about $3 million to over 120 community-based organizations statewide. And ultimately, we're hoping that this grant reaches underserved communities that face challenges to get into parks, such as transportation barriers, financial, economic, not even knowing that your state park is very close to home, or feeling like state parks aren't a place to hold community. Our community grantees often provide valuable recreational, environmental, educational experiences that teach communities that state parks are a safe and fun place to be.
I met with a few of the Routes to Parks grantees here in the San Joaquin Valley, including Nathaniel Schenk from Poverello House and Naomi Ortega Singh, founder and CEO of California Intertribal Alliances. Nathaniel Schenk, Poverello House's Director of Data Management and Grants, shared that the Routes to Parks grant gives vulnerable populations in Fresno an opportunity to explore a new environment and build healthy habits that go beyond just that initial park visit. Poverello House supports the unhoused population of Fresno by providing referrals for mental health services, housing, and substance abuse treatment, as well as transportation and mail services.
So think about it. Maybe you're been in survival mode and it's so stressful and you're just kind of thinking about basic needs and you don't have that moment of respite. And we're integrating with these programs always wrap around services where it's not just a meal or a bed, but it's a plan, but also this enrichment activity.
This year alone, Poverello House has made over 40 excursions to different state parks with support from the Routes to Parks grant program, including visits to Millerton Lake State Recreation Area, just north of Fresno. The organization has taken over 100 individuals on these excursions and plans to take even more next year.
You know, the ability just to go and leave Fresno, go to a mountain space and bird watch, you know, that's something you don't see a lot of guys participating in, is just being themselves, being curious, making friendships. It's not just a visit, but it's creating healthy lifestyles.
My name's Naomi Ortega Singh, and I am from the Waxahchie Chornemni tribes. Waxahchie comes out of Squaw Valley, California area, and then Chornemni comes out of the Sanger area.
With the Routes to Parks grant, Naomi and her organization, California Intertribal Alliances, helped community members from all over the valley, from places like Fresno, Madera, Orange Cove, Lemoore, and Hanford, take a 3-hour Eagle boat tour at Millerton Lake State Recreation Area.
My big takeaway is that I need to get us reconnected back to the land, because for us, the land is our healer. The land is our medicine. The land is our mother. And a lot of, people don't know that for our tribe, for Waxahchie, we go to water for healing. The water is our cleanser. And I think being out there, we had some of the kids on trash duty, and I had to remind them, like, hey, remember, this is Mother Earth. She is living, she is breathing, she is here. And because of her being generous, we get the atmosphere of being here too. So let's take care of that.
After driving for 2 hours, the fog lifted through the back roads of Modesto. I followed a discreet dirt road through fields of crops, past a new shiny white sign that read, Dos Rios State Park. Beside the edge of the park's pond loop, overlooking shimmering water and old-growth trees, I met my team and our guides for the day.
The San Joaquin River is like the spine of the great Central Valley of California. It's like connecting all of these communities and all of these cities and towns and people of the valley. It doesn't matter where I go in the valley, like it always feels like home.
Julian Morin, a park interpreter from Dos Rios State Park, California's newest state park, said it best. The San Joaquin River still stands as the backbone of the region, regardless of how we changed it and exploited it. It stands not only as a reminder of home here in the San Joaquin Valley, but it's also an essential part of our livelihoods in the region. The river is us, and we couldn't be here without it. The San Joaquin River watershed is our region's body. It feeds us and gives us water to drink. It gives us our home with green spaces to explore. We may not always recognize the many ways it keeps us alive, but yet day after day, we are indebted to it. But as we change the way water flows to meet our ever-demanding needs, we change the way we flow through the landscape. The general mindset of efficiency and production makes us consumers versus stewards of water in the valley. which puts in jeopardy our physical, mental, and spiritual health in the process. When we think of our body and our health, let's reframe to think about this body, the river, the watershed. By seeing the watershed as a body, we can start to identify root causes of bigger environmental and social issues, and acknowledge that we are all connected by the actions we take. The issues we deal with are not just a set of disparate symptoms, but systems of harm that become embodied in our own health and lives. We are now responsible for the watershed's health, because it's always been responsible for us.
This has been Returning to the River, a podcast from California State Parks focused on watershed stories. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, and share it. To learn more about the people, the places, and the stories featured in this episode, please visit us at parks.ca.gov/returning to the river. This podcast is copyrighted by California State Parks. No part of this podcast may be reproduced or distributed without the written permission of California State Parks, its districts, or divisions. We hope to see you again soon, returning to the river.